The Galactic Council chamber was vast, larger than any building ever made on Earth. Its walls were made of shining metal that seemed alive, glowing with streams of alien light. Thousands of alien delegates filled the room, their voices rising in a storm of sound. Some spoke in whispers, some shouted with rage, and others hissed in languages that no human ear could ever understand. But one thing was clear to everyone in the chamber. Today was the day Earth would be ordered to surrender. The voice of the High Chancellor rose above the noise. He was tall, with skin like stone and eyes that burned like fire. When he spoke, the entire chamber fell silent. His words echoed through the hall and out into the galaxy, carried by countless transmissions. Humans of Earth. You are young, weak, and unprepared. The Council has judged you dangerous. You must surrender your fleets, your weapons, your future. Bow to the Council, or face destruction. Billions across the galaxy heard his words. On faraway planets, in space stations, and aboard alien ships, people stopped what they were doing to listen. The order was final. The Council did not ask. It commanded. No race had ever refused. At the center of the chamber, the human delegation sat today. They wore dark uniforms, simple and plain compared to the shining robes and armor of the alien rulers. Their faces were calm, almost too calm. No one spoke. Not a word. The silence stretched on. Aliens shifted nervously in their seats. Some whispered to one another. "Why do they not speak?" asked a scaled diplomat from the outer rim. "They should beg. They should cry. They should kneel." But the humans did none of those things. Their leader, a woman with steady eyes and an unreadable expression, only looked back at the Chancellor. She did not bow. She did not even blink. She simply waited, as if she had all the time in the world. The Chancellor frowned. He expected fear. He expected resistance. But this silence, this strange calm, was worse. It was unsettling. Another alien leader stood up, her voice sharp and mocking. "Do you not understand, humans? We hold the power of 10,000 fleets. We can burn your world to ashes in a single day. Surrender now, and perhaps the Council will allow your species to live as servants. Refuse, and you will be erased from history." Still, the humans said nothing. Their calm faces remained unchanged. The chamber grew tense. Every second of silence felt heavier than the last. The galaxy waited, billions holding their breath. What would humans say? Would they cry for mercy? Would they shout in anger? But the humans only sat in silence. And that silence began to spread fear. The whispers grew louder. Alien voices trembled. "Why do they wait?" asked one. "What are they hiding?" muttered another. Even the bravest warlords shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Finally, the Chancellor raised his voice again, harsher this time. "Earth, you stand before the greatest powers of the galaxy. This is your only chance. Yield now, or your planet will burn." Still no answer. Instead, the human leader leaned back in her seat, her lips curling into the faintest of smiles. Not wide, not mocking, but enough to send a chill through the chamber. The silence deepened. It was no longer the silence of fear. It was the silence of certainty. A silence that whispered, "We are not afraid of you." The Council did not understand. They had seen countless races submit, terrified of destruction. But never had they seen a race sit in silence, as if the threat of annihilation meant nothing. For the first time, some of the alien leaders began to feel doubt. What if humans were not as weak as they seemed? What if they were hiding something? A low hum filled the chamber. It was not a sound from the Council. It was not a sound from any alien species. It was a signal, coming from the human delegation's ship outside the chamber. Quiet, steady, and encrypted. The Council scanners detected it, but they could not break it. The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. "What are you transmitting?" he demanded. The human leader did not answer. She only looked at him with calm, steady eyes. In that moment, billions across the galaxy leaned closer to their screens, waiting. The silence was unbearable. The humans had not said a word, and yet they had shaken the most powerful council in the galaxy. The Chancellor slammed his fist against the table. "Enough. You will answer now. Do you yield?" The human leader tilted her head slightly, as if studying him. Her calm expression never changed. And still, she said nothing. The silence grew heavier, pressing down on the chamber like a storm. The aliens shifted nervously. Some were angry, others were afraid. And all of them began to realize one terrifying truth: humanity's silence was not weakness. It was a weapon. Outside, in the black sea of space, the human ships waited. Small, fragile compared to the vast alien fleets. But for some reason, the galaxy could not stop staring at them. They seemed too still, too quiet, too certain. The Council had demanded surrender. But Earth had given no reply. And that unanswered silence echoed louder than any words. The galaxy held its breath. The silence of the chamber did not fade. It stretched on, longer than any alien expected, and it unsettled them more than threats of war ever could. The Chancellor's demand still hung in the air, but the humans' lack of response was louder than any defiance. Across the galaxy, the broadcast continued to flow. On distant worlds, alien citizens leaned toward their screens, whispering to one another. "Why do they not speak?" asked a reptilian farmer, his scales shimmering in the glow of the transmission. In a floating city above a gas giant, a cluster of winged beings hissed nervously. Do humans not understand what surrender means? No one denies the Council. And yet, the humans denied them. Not with words. Not with weapons. With silence. Inside the chamber, the murmurs grew. Delegates began to argue in low tones. Some were outraged, pounding their tables with fists and claws. Others tried to calm the room, but their voices carried fear. "This is strange," muttered a thin, four-eyed ambassador. "Too strange. They act as though they know something we do not." The Chancellor scowled, his patience slipping. But before he could speak again, another voice rose from the chamber. It belonged to an elder of the Zephyr, a race older than most civilizations present. His voice was soft, but it carried weight. "Do you not see? They are not trembling. They are not begging. They are watching us. Like hunters waiting for prey to move first." The words struck the chamber like a blade. For a moment, even the most arrogant rulers felt the bite of fear. The human delegation still sat calmly, hands folded, expressions unreadable. One of them leaned close to their leader and whispered something no translator could catch. Whatever was said made the human leader's faint smile grow just a little stronger. The whispers among the aliens grew louder. "Why are they smiling?" asked one. "What do they hide?" said another. The questions spread like fire, feeding the unease. Then, without warning, the chamber's communication systems crackled. A faint pulse of sound, too sharp to be random, echoed across the council hall. It came from the human's ship orbiting above. The signal repeated 3 times before vanishing. Technicians scrambled to decode it, their screens flashing with alien symbols. But nothing worked. The signal was locked in layers of encryption beyond their understanding. The Chancellor's fist struck the table again, making the chamber quake. "Humans," he roared. "What is this signal? Do you dare mock the Council with your silence and your tricks?" The human leader did not answer. Her eyes shifted from the Chancellor to the crowd of alien leaders. She studied them one by one, as if measuring their fear. That calm gaze unsettled them more than any weapon ever could. Some aliens began to demand immediate war. "Crush them now," shouted a warlord with tusks longer than his arms. "Burn their world before they strike first." Others urged caution. "No, wait. If they are this calm, then perhaps they are not alone. Perhaps another power stands behind them." The chamber erupted into arguments. Voices clashed, claws pointed, wings flared. The unity of the Council was cracking, and still the humans said nothing. On every world watching, the effect was the same. Billions whispered, fearful and uncertain. Are the humans mad? Or do they know something no one else does? The silence of Earth had become a whisper of fear in every corner of the galaxy. And through it all, the human leader simply smiled. Not a mocking smile. Not even a proud one. But the quiet smile of someone who had already decided the outcome of the game. The Chancellor leaned forward, his voice low and dangerous. "I will give you one last chance, humans. Yield now, or your home will burn." The humans still did not answer. And that silence was more terrifying than war. Far above the chamber, in the void of space, scanners hummed as they tracked every ship, every signal, every flicker of energy in the system. The Council always monitored visitors, and today was no different. But when their machines turned toward Earth's fleet, something strange began to appear. It started as a faint pulse, barely detectable at first. A steady rhythm, hidden beneath the noise of space. The Council's technicians leaned closer to their displays, frowning. The signal was human, but it was not a broadcast. It was locked, wrapped in codes unlike anything the Council had seen before. The Chancellor demanded answers, and teams of analysts scrambled to decode the pulse. Dozens of screens filled with alien symbols, calculations, and data streams. But no matter what tools they used, the message resisted every attempt to open it. The pulse grew stronger, repeating across multiple frequencies. It spread into channels the Council believed secure, echoing through layers of technology humans should not have been able to access. "What are they doing?" hissed one delegate. His skin rippled with unease, a natural response of his species. "They have no right to touch Council systems. How do they even know these frequencies?" The technicians tried to explain, but their voices were tight with worry. "It is human encryption. Not ours. We cannot break it." Those words fell like a hammer. The Council, masters of 1,000 empires, could not break a human code. The Chancellor's eyes burned with fury. What is inside that signal? No one could answer. In the chamber, the aliens shifted nervously, their voices rising into whispers again. "Perhaps it is a weapon," one said. "A signal to allies," muttered another. The rumors grew darker with each passing second. Maybe it is a call to fleets hidden in the dark, maybe humans are not alone. The humans did not speak. They simply sat, calm as ever, watching the panic grow. The human leader leaned forward slightly, as though listening to the very signal that terrified the chamber. Her expression remained calm, but her eyes glimmered with quiet certainty. The Chancellor tried to regain control. His voice thundered through the hall. "Enough games. Tell us now, what does your signal mean? What forces do you summon? Speak, or we will end you here and now." The human leader did not reply. She only turned her head toward her delegation, exchanging the briefest glance with the man beside her. He nodded, almost invisible to anyone who wasn't looking closely. And then the signal changed. The pulse grew louder, sharper, echoing in the chamber itself. The Council's sound systems could not block it. No matter what technicians tried, the signal forced its way in, filling the vast hall with its steady rhythm. Boom, boom, boom. Like the beating of a heart. Every alien froze. The sound was unnatural in the chamber, yet hauntingly alive. It was not a weapon blast. It was not a code meant for machines. It was something else entirely. The whispers became fearful. "It sounds like blood. Like a heartbeat." The Chancellor's fury slipped, replaced for the first time by something worse, doubt. The human leader's lips curved again into that small, quiet smile. She did not need to speak. The signal was her answer. The humans were not asking for peace. They were not begging for mercy. They were sending a message. A message no alien could read, but one that every being in the chamber felt deep inside. The humans were not surrendering. They were preparing. The chamber was restless. The heartbeat signal still echoed in the walls, and though the technicians had finally forced the sound out of the speakers, the memory of it remained. Every alien present could still feel it in their chests, a slow, steady thrum that refused to fade. They hated it because it was not alien. It was human. And it had power. The Chancellor rose to his feet, his voice cold and sharp. "Enough of this game. Earth has mocked the Council for the last time." His gaze burned toward the human delegation. "We give you strength, we give you order, we give you the chance to live beneath us. Yet you mock us with silence and secret codes. Do you think this will save you?" He pointed an accusing hand at them. "Speak, or we will erase your home." For the first time, one of the humans shifted in his seat. A murmur went through the chamber. Would he speak? Would he beg? But instead, the man leaned back, folded his arms, and laughed. It was not a cruel laugh, not even loud. It was soft, almost casual. But in the tense silence of the council, it rang like thunder. The aliens recoiled. Some shouted, others growled, others hissed. "How dare they laugh at us?" one cried. A winged delegate slammed his claws against the table. "This is no council. This is mockery." The Chancellor's face twisted with rage, but his voice faltered for a brief moment. He could not deny it. The sound of human laughter shook him. There was no fear in it. There was no despair. It was the laugh of someone who knew something you didn't. The man's laughter faded, but before anyone could speak, the human leader raised her hand slightly, silencing her own delegation. She did not laugh. She did not raise her voice. She only sat there, calm, smiling faintly, as if the entire galaxy was already hers. That silence returned, heavier now than before. The laughter still lingered in the chamber like smoke, curling in the minds of every alien present. One alien stood, his voice trembling with fury. "You dare laugh at the council? At the combined might of the galaxy? You will pay for this insult." But another voice, softer, cut through the anger. An older ambassador, scarred from centuries of politics, shook his head. "No, listen carefully. Do you not hear it? That was not the laugh of arrogance. It was not the laugh of fools. It was the laugh of certainty." The chamber fell into uneasy silence again. Eyes shifted back to the humans. They sat quietly, waiting, not a trace of worry on their faces. And for the first time, more than one alien began to think the unthinkable. Maybe Earth had a reason to laugh. Maybe they were not powerless at all. The Chancellor slammed his fist against the table again, desperate to keep control. "They play games with us. They laugh because they believe we will hesitate. We will not. We will strike them down before their insolence spreads to others." But even as he shouted, he could see the doubt in the eyes of his fellow leaders. The humans had not spoken a single word, yet they had sown fear deeper than any army ever had. The human leader finally leaned forward, her calm voice carrying through the chamber, not loud, but perfectly clear. "You asked for our answer. You will have it. In time." She leaned back, her expression calm once more. The council erupted in fury, arguments breaking out in a dozen languages. Some demanded war immediately, others hesitated, and still others whispered in fear. And in the middle of it all, the humans remained silent again. One laugh. One smile. That was all it took to break the unity of the galaxy's greatest council. The council chamber was no longer the place of order it once had been. Where once the voices of 1,000 species blended into harmony, now there was only shouting, claws scraping against stone, and the thundering of fists against metal tables. The silence of the humans had done what no enemy fleet ever could. It had divided the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. The Chancellor pounded the table, his voice shaking the hall. "Do you not see? This is exactly what they want. They mock us, they weaken us, and you fall into their trap. If we strike now, we end them. Earth will be ashes in a single cycle." But his words were not met with the agreement he once commanded. A dozen voices rose against him. "You are a fool," one ambassador spat, her 4 eyes narrowing. "If they were weak, they would already beg. No species dares laugh at death unless they know something we do not." Another delegate, his skin flickering with bioluminescent fear, added, "And what of the ships near their border? Entire fleets gone. No wreckage. No signal. Are we to pretend it is nothing?" The Chancellor's jaw tightened. Lies. Fabrications. Rumors born from fear. But the chamber did not believe him. Too many had heard the same whispers. Too many had watched the human delegate smile as though the galaxy's greatest powers meant nothing. On the far side of the chamber, a younger delegate from a minor world stood, his voice trembling but loud. "Perhaps it is not only humans. Perhaps they have found something. A weapon. A people stronger than us. Something they keep hidden in their silence." The words spread like fire. Something hidden. Something greater. No proof was given, yet none could ignore it. The seed of doubt had already taken root in every mind. The arguments deepened, sharp and poisonous. Warlords pounded their fists, demanding immediate destruction of Earth. Traders hissed in fear, warning that war might awaken powers the council did not understand. Scholars begged for patience, their voices drowned in the storm. And the humans? They sat quietly, saying nothing, their silence louder than all the shouting around them. The Chancellor's power was slipping. He saw it in the eyes of the other leaders: uncertainty, hesitation, fear. For centuries, the Council had ruled unchallenged. No one had ever questioned its strength. But now, because of a single silent delegation from a small blue planet, the Council stood on the edge of breaking apart. Outside the chamber, across the galaxy, the same arguments raged. Entire civilizations were splitting in opinion. Some demanded humans be destroyed immediately before their mystery grew stronger. Others whispered of alliances, wondering if Earth might be a safer bet than the Council itself. The fracture widened. Trust that had held the galaxy together for ages was now crumbling. And all the while, Earth gave no answer. No promise. No threat. Nothing but silence. That silence was worse than war. It was victory without a single battle fought. The chamber had grown heavy with exhaustion. Days of arguments, threats, and fear had stripped away the illusion of unity. Delegates sat with shoulders slumped, wings folded tight, scales dulling, voices hoarse from endless shouting. But no resolution had been reached. The humans still sat silently in their corner, calm as stone, watching the storm rage around them. Finally, the Chancellor rose again. His voice was sharp and weary, but it cut through the noise like a blade. Enough. This will not go on. We will give the humans one final chance. One last warning. They will kneel, or they will burn. The words silenced the hall. Everyone leaned forward, waiting. The galaxy itself seemed to pause. He pointed toward the human leader, his eyes narrowing with fury. You sit there with your silence, your tricks, your mockery. You think the Council is afraid? You are wrong. We have crushed empires greater than yours. We have erased worlds stronger than yours. Do not mistake patience for weakness. The chamber stirred, whispers running like current through water. Some nodded, relieved to hear strength again. Others frowned, sensing desperation in the Chancellor's words. The Chancellor's voice rose louder. This is your final moment. Speak now. Yield your fleets. Yield your planet. Yield your people. Submit to the rule of the Council, or your species will be nothing but ash in the stars. The threat echoed through the chamber, through the countless transmissions spreading across the galaxy. Billions of eyes and ears leaned in closer. Every screen, every receiver, every heart waited. At last, after so many cycles of silence, would the humans speak? Would they bow? Would they beg? The human leader slowly rose from her seat. The chamber froze. Even the Chancellor hesitated. For the first time, she stood tall, her dark uniform perfectly straight, her eyes steady and cold. She did not shout. She did not rush. She simply let the silence stretch one more unbearable moment. And then, softly, she smiled. The Chancellor's fists clenched. Speak, he roared. But she did not answer. Not yet. Instead, she turned her gaze across the entire hall, meeting the eyes of alien after alien, leader after leader. Her silence now was not the silence of waiting. It was the silence of judgment. Delegates shifted uneasily under her gaze. Some dropped their eyes. Others clenched their jaws, angry but afraid. It felt as though she saw through them, as if humanity itself was weighing their worth. The suspense grew unbearable. Billions watching from across the stars leaned closer to their screens. Whispers filled cities, stations, ships. What will she say? Will humanity yield? The moment stretched longer and longer, until even the Chancellor's voice faltered. And still, the humans did not answer. Only their leader's calm smile remained. The galaxy trembled on the edge of revelation. The Council had demanded surrender. The Chancellor had given his last warning. The galaxy begged for an answer. And humanity held it in their silence, saving it for one final moment. The chamber was silent. Not the silence of order, but the silence that comes before a storm. Every delegate, every soldier, every servant in the council hall stared at the human leader. Billions across the galaxy did the same through their screens. The Chancellor's final warning still echoed in the air, heavy with rage and pride. Yet all waited, hearts tight, breaths caught. The human leader stood tall, her uniform sharp, her face calm. For so long, she had given nothing, no word, no plea, no answer. But now, her lips parted, and her voice, steady and cold, carried across the chamber. "Surrender," she said softly. Her words were simple, almost gentle, but they cut through the silence like a blade. "No. Humanity does not kneel." The chamber erupted at once. Some aliens shouted in fury, slamming fists and claws against tables. Others cried out in disbelief, wings spreading, eyes wide. A few fell into whispers of fear, voices trembling. The Chancellor roared above them all. "You dare defy the Council? You will be erased." But the human leader did not flinch. She did not even raise her voice. She spoke with calm certainty, each word striking harder than weapons. "You look at us and see a young race. You see small fleets, fragile worlds, limited strength. And yet, you fear us. You fear our silence. You fear our laughter. And you are right to fear. For we are not afraid of you. We never were." The delegates froze, her words sinking deep into them. The Chancellor's fury burned brighter, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. The human leader turned slowly, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. "You believe power is fleets, weapons, armies. You think domination brings order. But humans, we carry something you cannot measure. We carry defiance. We carry survival. We carry the will to fight when every odds says we should fall. And that is something you will never take from us." The chamber shook with voices, some enraged, some shaken, some silent with dawning fear. The human leader gave a final, quiet smile. "You asked for our answer. Now you have it." She stepped back, and her delegation rose with her. Without another word, they turned and walked out of the chamber. Their boots struck the floor in perfect rhythm, the sound echoing louder than the Council's chaos. Aliens shouted after them. Some called for war, others demanded caution, but the humans did not look back. They left as they had come, calm, silent, unbroken. Across the galaxy, the transmission ended. But the words, the image of humans standing tall against the most powerful force in existence, remained burned into every mind. In homes, in stations, in military ships, whispers grew into fear. They refused. They are not afraid. What do they know that we do not? The Chancellor tried to roar for order, but the chamber had already fractured. Leaders shouted at one another, alliances broke, and suspicion spread like a plague. And outside, far beyond the chamber, Earth's fleets waited. Small, yes. Fragile, perhaps. But for the first time, the galaxy wondered if they were the hunters, not the prey. The humans had spoken. They would never kneel. And their laughter, their silence, their defiance echoed across the stars, a promise that the galaxy would never forget.